Good morning, everybody. This is Judith Aco. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's unpack some things. So, it occurs to me, I've heard some crazy stuff in the last couple of weeks. Just stuff that people believe, and I mean, they really believe it. And it's like you realize that your life really is just a series of things you strongly believe. Your thoughts, um, everything you think and feel isn't always true, but if you believe it, that's all that matters. So your life is really just a series of strongly held beliefs. So, like, if you believe that you'll never have any money because the system is rigged against you, then that's exactly what you're going to produce. If you believe that you're going to get cancer because everybody in your family gets cancer, yes, you're going to think yourself into cancer. And whether you can cure yourself of it or not is another story. But everything you think about with that kind of passion and intensity, that's what makes up your life. It really does. And I don't think people realize that every day you're thinking a series of thoughts that's keeping you trapped in a place you say you don't want to be. I can say for sure that when this time 15 years ago, was it 15 years ago? Yeah. I was really, really sick. I think today is the day I would have entered the hospital. So this would be a Friday 15 years ago. And I went in the hospital and I had a lot of stuff wrong with me. I had high blood pressure, it was undiagnosed, and I was not doing well. And I remember going into the hospital and I was scared. I was really scared until my sister was really great. She spent the night, but while she was going to get stuff from her apartment to spend the night, I had a window of time by myself, and they had put me on some really powerful drugs to try to get my blood pressure down. But what happened was I had gone to urgent care, got misdiagnosed, and she gave me all these decongestants that made my blood pressure even higher. So I don't really trust urgent cares because I've gotten misdiagnosed and my mother's gotten misdiagnosed at those. But do with what you want with that. So anyway, my blood pressure was super high. My sister was on her way back to the hospital. And I just said to God, I was like, am I going to die? And I heard a voice clearly state, you're not going to die from this. And from that moment on, my whole attitude changed. People were coming in, they were giving me the dire news, like, oh man, your heart's not working. Actually, the cardiologist looked at me. We had been having a real fun chat, and then she listened to my heart. She was like, your heart, there's something wrong with your heart. And she got super serious and walked out. And I was like, okay. And then doctor after doctor was like, you're doomed. Like, nothing good is going to happen to you. But you know what? I didn't focus on any of that. I spent 6 days in the hospital, and you're sick when they keep you for 6 days because they don't want you in there that long. So I just made up my mind. I didn't focus on all the symptoms. I didn't read about anything. I just focused on what do I have to do to feel better? And that's what I did. And I healed. And I got into a fight some years later with my primary care because he was like, your heart shouldn't be better. And I was like, but it is. He was like, but it shouldn't be. And he was like almost pissed off that I had gotten better. But the difference is it was what I believed, not only about God and the goodness of God, but also what I knew I was going to change about myself. Because I realized that I had gone down a path that led to the sickness. So I was going to go down another path to get out of the sickness. And they just didn't know what to do with that. And I recognize now that a lot of people hear these things from doctors and they don't take into consideration this doctor has no faith in your ability to do better. So when they tell you things like, you're never going to be able to lose this weight, or your heart's never going to be well again, or you're never going to be able to do, I had a bunch of stuff that they told me I was never going to be able to do. And They only say that because they don't believe for a second that you're going to be strong enough or with it enough to do something different, to change your health routine or change your diet or whatever. They just don't believe in you and they don't have any faith in that. So a lot of times when they're telling you their diagnosis, that's it, because they don't believe you're going to do anything. They think you're going to just stay exactly the same and continue on down this path. And so they're giving you the probability of what it's going to be based off of the fact that you're not strong enough to change. And so a lot of people are living in this kind of bubble because they have these strongly held beliefs, and people have poured other beliefs into them, and they just sort of double down. Like they find people to, sort of reaffirm what they already believe, which is dangerous if you have a bunch of thoughts that are counterproductive. The real thing that you can do for yourself and give yourself some grace is to pull back and look at take your biggest frustration, whatever it is you're frustrated about, really pull back and look at it. And maybe it's you can't find the right partner, or maybe you're still mad at your ex, or maybe you can't lose weight, or maybe, your health isn't where you want it to be. Pull back and really look at it. And what is it that you believe about yourself around this topic? Like you believe this 100%. And you will start to unravel this onion of thoughts that keep you trapped where you are. There is nothing that I believe that can't be undone, but you have to make a series of decisions that will undo it. You can't think the same thoughts every day. You can't do the same things you do every day and expect a different result, because what you've been doing has landed you where you are. So if you keep dating the wrong person, or you keep being stuck with a shitty job or a shitty boss, or if you can't figure out how to, get your health back in order, there's a series of decisions that you've made, that you've doubled down on, that you believe that's keeping you stuck. And you have to be bold enough and brave enough to say, you know what, I really want to change this. And just do something different every day. I went left for so long, now it's time to go right. And start doing things differently. Start believing things differently. And not just paying lip service to it. I mean, really believing, forgiving people sincerely. Because you really are just holding yourself hostage the longer you stay mad at somebody. Like, for real, I'm super annoyed with my brother. And I fully believe that's been part of why my stomach hasn't been quite settled in the last 6 to 8 weeks. Is because, while someone is alive and you're trying to keep them alive and help them, and they're in hospice and you're running from pillar to post to try to do all these things for them, you really don't have time to process being angry. But your body does. And I feel like I'm finally able to be sad about my mom. And I'm also really angry because I think my brother should be here. And everybody in my family, like to a person, all the cousins, everybody tried to get him to make different choices. And he just didn't want to. And so I don't feel guilty, but I do feel angry. And I have to let that go, and I have to forgive him. And I've had a series of conversations with his spirit, like, I'm trying to forgive you. And I apologize. But, this is really frustrating for me. Because it's not like I didn't grow up with him. I grew up with him. And I knew his life. And, to see him at the end like that was so frustrating. And he didn't talk to these people. His doctors, none of them really knew his life. They wondered if he had held jobs. I'm like, hell, he worked for 31 years for the Department of the Army doing secret shit. That ought to scare you. He was bipolar too. And, he went to good schools. He had scholarships. He worked hard, and he was a smart guy. He played chess. He was a very interesting person. But that bipolar disorder is no joke. So I can't be too mad at him because of the bipolar. But the one thing I will say is people do what they want to do. And so he made a series of choices that he wanted to make. He just didn't want to be healthy. And that's a choice that took him out, you know? So I'm just saying you have belief systems right now that you have doubled down, you're 10 toes down on, and maybe if there's something that's not working to the way you would want it to work, you might want to start there. You might want to start with something that you believe that isn't really true. Or you can change it because it might have been true 5 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's not true now. You know, I just felt compelled to say that. I feel like a lot of people are struggling with some of the day-to-day details of their lives, and yes, life is hard and life is frustrating, and there are things that may or may not go the way you want them to go, but you got to trust God's timing. None of this is a surprise to God. I think we come here with all these feelings and emotions to learn how to process these things, to many people believe that we're here experiencing everything we can experience because we're sending all that information back to God. We're God expressed in human form, and everything we learn and unlearn and get hurt by and get frustrated by or celebrate or whatever is just sending it back to the ultimate AI machine, which is God. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. I don't know what I believe, but I do in terms of that. But I do know that your life is the sum of your beliefs. And if you're not happy, you need to unpeel some things. You can get a therapist. You can therapize yourself, whatever it is. Write it out on a sheet of paper. Where did this go left for me? When did my life go off into this ditch? And what am I going to do to get out of this ditch? Because you don't get forever. All of us are just getting older. I'm about to sell my mom's childhood home, not my mom's childhood home, my childhood home. And my brother and sister lived there for quite a while too. And, I'm going to sell it tomorrow. Won't be making a ton of money because, my family got redlined, but, it's the end of an era. Almost 60 years on that block there was a presence by someone in my family. And, that house meant a lot to my mom, but it's time to let it go. And I'm ready to let it go. And it's just time to recalibrate. And, I think finally the big blessing of this summer, I've been able to take enough time to take care of myself and think about myself, which is not something I do naturally, but I've kind of had to, and I'm getting my sleep back. My nervous system isn't stressed out. My adrenals aren't stressed out. My systems are coming back online. I can feel that. And I'm beyond blessed and very thankful to still be here. I don't want to hold any secret resentment, so I'm trying to work on that. And I don't want to be mad or angry at anybody. Everybody has the right to die the way they want to. And I don't know. My mom was old and sick, and that came with its own things. But my brother was young, and I don't know. Like I said, the bipolar is not anything to joke around with. People throw the word around a lot. I was listening to this guy the other day, and he was like, I've noticed the word trauma gets overused. And I'm thinking, but there is a lot of trauma. There is a lot of trauma, and people are giving voice to it, and that's fine. The problem is people want to be traumatized, but they don't want to go to solutions. They just kind of get addicted to trauma. But also, I think one word that gets way overused is bipolar. And many of these people don't know a bipolar person. If you know a bipolar person, you wouldn't joke around. Just because somebody is mercurial or up and down, or that doesn't mean they're bipolar. And some people are undiagnosed bipolar, but some people aren't. But they need to stop throwing the word around like that, because if you really know a bipolar person, you know how troubling and frustrating and all of it can be. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. If you really, really want to change your life, you got to change what you believe, and you got to change what you do based off of those beliefs. And it will work, but you got to give it time. You can't do something one time and be like, I'm healed. And you got to give it time. But it's consistency. It's consistency. Wake up every day with a new thought and a new belief, and you will gradually change your life. I believe it, because I've done it and I'm still doing it. Be well, be safe. It's June 23rd. I'm not going to lie to you. This year is going fast. It's going really fast. And I've had a busy year. Yeah, I've just entered recovery mode, I want to say, in April. And I didn't even get to recover that much because I had to clean out my brother's apartment, which took all of April, and it was grotesque. So anyway, take care of yourselves. Be well. Just a thought.